Kyle Bennett wiped the sweat from his face and looked at the thick jungle around him. The planet Varathor was hot and wet, and his clothes stuck to his skin like a second layer. He had been walking for 3 hours since the storm separated him from his survey team. The storm had come fast. One moment the sky was clear, and the next moment rain fell so hard he could not see his own hand. He ran for cover and waited. When the rain stopped, his team was gone and his communication device was broken. Now he walked through the jungle, hoping to find the base camp before dark. The ground beneath his feet was soft and wet. Pools of dark water sat between the roots of giant trees. Strange birds called from the branches above, and insects buzzed around his head. Kyle was a geologist. He studied rocks and dirt for a living. He had been on 12 different planets in his career, but this one made him nervous. The ground here was not stable. It shifted and moved. In some places, what looked like solid earth was actually mud that could swallow a man whole. He stopped to check his compass and heard a sound. It was not a bird or an insect. It was a voice. Someone was calling out in a language he did not understand. Kyle pushed through the thick plants and found a clearing. In the middle of the clearing was a patch of wet ground that looked different from the rest. It was darker and smoother, like chocolate pudding. And in the middle of that patch was a figure struggling to stay above the surface. It was a Varati. Kyle had seen pictures of them during his mission briefing. They were tall beings with silver blue skin and large eyes that seemed to glow. This one was female, and she was sinking fast. The quicksand had already reached her chest, and her arms waved wildly as she tried to grab something solid. Kyle did not think. He just acted. He pulled the rope from his pack and looked for something to anchor it. A thick root stuck out of the ground nearby. He wrapped the rope around it twice and tied a strong knot. The Varati saw him and called out again. Her eyes were wide with fear. The quicksand was now at her shoulders. Kyle threw the rope toward her. It landed short. He pulled it back and threw again. This time it reached her, and she grabbed it with both hands. "Hold on," Kyle shouted, even though he knew she probably did not understand him. "Do not let go." He pulled the rope with all his strength. The quicksand did not want to release its prize. It made a sucking sound as Kyle pulled harder. His boots dug into the soft ground, and he leaned back, using his whole body weight. The Varati held the rope tight. She did not panic or thrash around, which helped. Slowly, very slowly, she began to move toward the edge of the quicksand patch. Kyle's arms burned. His back screamed in pain. But he did not stop pulling. One hand over the other, again and again, he dragged the rope toward him. After what felt like forever, the Varati reached the edge of the solid ground. Kyle grabbed her arm and pulled her the rest of the way out. They both fell backward onto the wet grass, breathing hard. The Varati lay there for a moment, covered in dark mud. Then she sat up and looked at Kyle. Her eyes were the color of golden honey, and they studied him with an expression he could not read. She spoke words in her language. Her voice was soft but serious. Kyle shook his head to show he did not understand. She pointed at herself and said, "Ziritha." "Kyle," he said, pointing at his own chest. "Kyle Bennett." Ziritha said more words, but Kyle could only shake his head again. Whatever she was trying to tell him seemed important. Her tone was urgent, and she kept touching her chest and then pointing at him. Then her eyes closed, as she fell back onto the ground. The effort of fighting the quicksand had taken everything from her. She was breathing, but she was too tired to stay awake. Kyle looked around. The sun was getting lower, and he knew the jungle would be dangerous at night. He could not leave her alone. He lifted Ziritha carefully. She was lighter than he expected. He carried her to a large tree with wide roots that created a small shelter. He set her down gently and sat beside her to wait. As the darkness came, Kyle heard sounds in the jungle. Animals moved through the trees. Eyes glowed in the shadows. But nothing came close to their shelter. He did not sleep. He watched over the alien female he had saved from the hungry ground. He did not know her people or her customs. He did not know that saving her would change his life forever. He only knew that she had needed help, and he had given it. That was what humans did. They helped. It was simple. It was basic. And sometimes it was enough to change everything. Zirith awoke just before dawn. She looked at Kyle with those golden eyes and spoke one word in his language. Her translator must have worked while she slept. Why? She asked. Kyle shrugged. You were in trouble. I could help. So I helped. She stared at him for a long time. Then she said something that made no sense to him. You do not know what you have done. Before Kyle could ask what she meant, he heard voices in the jungle. Many voices. And they were coming closer. Zirith stood up slowly. She did not look afraid. She looked like someone who knew exactly what was about to happen. My people are coming, she said. They have been searching for me. And now they will find you too. Kyle stood beside her. Is that bad? Zirith looked at him with something like sadness in her eyes. For you, human, it might be very bad. Or it might be very good. I cannot say yet. The first Virati warriors stepped out of the jungle. They were tall and strong, and they carried weapons Kyle did not recognize. They saw Zirith first, and relief crossed their faces. Then they saw Kyle, and they dropped to their knees. Kyle watched the Virati warriors kneel before him and felt very confused. These were large, powerful beings with weapons. He was a dirty, tired human with a rope. Why were they bowing to him? Zirith spoke to her people in their language. Her words came fast, and she pointed at Kyle many times. She showed them the mud on her clothes and made gestures toward the Quicksand patch. The warriors listened without standing up. One of the warriors, the largest one with scars on his face, asked Zirith a question. She nodded. He asked another question. She nodded again. The warrior looked at Kyle with something like wonder in his eyes. Kyle's translator had been broken since the storm, but now it made a small noise. The device was trying to sync with the Virati language. After a few moments, it clicked, and suddenly Kyle could understand what they were saying. The human pulled you from the hungry earth? The scarred warrior asked. Yes, Thornax, Zirith answered. I would be dead without him. He risked his life to save mine. Thornax turned to Kyle. Human, do you understand me now? Yes, Kyle said. I can understand you. Can someone please tell me why you are all kneeling? It is making me uncomfortable. Thornax did not stand. None of them did. You saved Zirith from the hungry earth. You pulled her from certain death. Do you know what this means? It means I did not want to watch someone die when I could help, Kyle said. That is all. Zirith walked to Kyle and stood beside him. Among my people, there is an ancient law. It is called the Morazan. When someone saves another from the hungry earth, a bond is created. It cannot be broken. Kyle felt a cold feeling in his stomach. What kind of bond? Zirith is not just any member of our clan, Thornax explained. She is the daughter of Sarovith, our dying matriarch. She is the heir to leadership of the Valdron clan, and you saved her life. So what does that mean for me? Kyle asked. Zirith looked into his eyes. It means you are now the lord of the Valdron clan. You have claimed that right by saving me. The Morazan gives you power over all of us. Kyle laughed. It was a nervous laugh, the kind people make when they hear something too strange to believe. That is crazy. I am just a geologist. I study rocks. I cannot be the lord of your clan. You do not have a choice, Thornax said. The Morazan cannot be refused. If you try to reject the bond, both you and Ziritha will die. The ancient magic will take your lives. Magic? Kyle shook his head. There is no such thing as magic. This is just a tradition, right? We can talk to someone and explain the situation. Ziritha put her hand on his arm. The Morazan is real, Kyle Bennett. I felt it form when you pulled me from the mud. There is a connection between us now. If you try to break it, I will feel my life leaving my body. And so will you. Kyle saw the truth in her golden eyes. She was not lying. She was not playing a trick on him. This was real. How is this possible? He whispered. Our planet is old, Thornak said, finally standing up. The other warriors stood as well. There are forces here that your human science does not understand. The hungry earth is not just mud and water. It is alive. It knows when someone defeats it, and it rewards the victor. Kyle rubbed his face with his hands. He had woken up this morning as a simple geologist. Now he was apparently the lord of an alien clan on a planet far from Earth. What do I have to do? He asked. First, you must come to our settlement, Ziritha said. My mother, Saroveth, is dying. She must meet you before she passes to the next world. She must see that the clan will be in good hands. I do not know anything about leading a clan, Kyle said. I do not know your customs or your laws. I do not even know how to speak your language without this translator. Ziritha almost smiled. I will teach you. I will be your advisor. Together, we will lead the Valdaran. And if I make mistakes, you will make many mistakes, Thornak said. But the Morazan chose you. The hungry earth saw something in you worth saving its victim for. We must trust in that. Kyle did not feel worth anything special. He felt tired and dirty and very far from home. But he also knew he could not let Ziritha die because he was afraid of responsibility. Fine, he said. Take me to your settlement. I will meet your mother and learn your ways. But I want you all to know that I never asked for this. The best leaders never do, Ziritha said quietly. They walked through the jungle for several hours. The Varati warriors surrounded Kyle like an honor guard. They watched him with curious eyes, studying every move he made. When they finally reached the settlement, Kyle stopped and stared. The Varati did not live on the ground. They lived in the trees. Massive wooden platforms connected the trunks of giant trees, and rope bridges stretched between them. It was a city in the sky, built to avoid the dangerous ground below. The hungry earth cannot reach us here, Ziritha explained. We learned long ago to live above its grasp. Kyle climbed up a ladder made of strong vines. At the top, hundreds of Varati waited. They had heard the news. They knew their new lord was coming. As Kyle stepped onto the platform, they all knelt. Every single one of them. Kyle looked at the sea of silver-blue faces bowing before him. He looked at Ziritha standing at his side. He looked at the strange and beautiful city in the trees. Then he took a deep breath and accepted his new life. He did not know what the future would bring. He did not know if he could be a good leader. But he knew one thing for certain. He could not run away from this. He had saved Ziritha because it was the right thing to do. Now he would lead her people because walking away would mean her death. Sometimes doing the right thing had consequences. Kyle was about to learn just how big those consequences could be. The matriarch Saroveth was old and thin. She lay on a bed of soft leaves in the largest treehouse of the settlement. Her silver-blue skin had faded to a pale gray, and her breathing was slow and weak. But her eyes were still sharp. Kyle knelt beside her bed as Ziritha had instructed. He did not know what to say to a dying alien queen, so he said nothing and waited. Saroveth studied him for a long time. Then she spoke in a voice that was barely louder than a whisper. You are the human who saved my daughter. Yes, Kyle said. My name is Kyle Bennett. I know your name. The whole clan knows it now. Saroveth coughed weakly. I have seen many strange things in my long life, but I never thought a human would become Lord of the Valderan. I never thought it either, Kyle admitted. If I could give the title back to Ziritha, I would. Saroveth shook her head slowly. The Morazan does not care what you want. It sees the truth of your spirit. You risked your life to save a stranger from a species you did not know. That takes courage. That takes a good heart. Anyone would have done the same. No, Saroveth said firmly. Not anyone. Many would have watched. Many would have been too afraid. But you acted without thinking. That is rare. That is rare. That is precious. Ziritha stepped forward. Mother, you should rest. The human can learn more tomorrow. Saroveth ignored her daughter. Listen to me, Kyle Bennett. Other clans will test you. They will see a human and think you are weak. They will try to take what belongs to the Valderan. What should I do? Show them they are wrong. Saroveth closed her eyes. My daughter will guide you. Trust her. She is smarter than she knows. Ziritha touched her mother's hand gently. The old matriarch was asleep. They left the room quietly down outside. The settlement was buzzing with activity. News of the human lord had spread beyond the Valderan territory. Messengers from other clans were already arriving, curious and suspicious. Over the next few days, Kyle learned the ways of the Varadi. Ziritha was a patient teacher. She explained their history, their laws, and their traditions. Kyle listened carefully and asked many questions. He learned that there were 12 major clans on Vareth IV, and they often fought over territory and resources. The Valderan were not the strongest clan, but they were respected for their wisdom and honor. He learned that the Varadi valued strength above almost everything. A weak leader meant a weak clan, and weak clans did not survive long. He learned that many Varadi did not believe humans were worthy of respect. To them, humans were soft creatures from a distant world. They did not understand how dangerous Earth actually was. On the 7th day after Kyle's arrival, a group of warriors from another clan came to the settlement. They wore dark red paint on their faces and carried weapons openly. Their leader was a massive Varadi with cold eyes and a cruel smile. I am Vorith of the Thorvan clan, the leader announced. I have come to see this human lord everyone is talking about. Kyle stepped forward. He had been warned this might happen. Ziritha had told him the Thorvan were aggressive and always looking for ways to expand their territory. I am Kyle Bennett, he said calmly, Lord of the Valderan clan. Vorith laughed. It was not a friendly laugh. You? A small soft human? The Valderan must be truly desperate to accept such a creature as their leader. Kyle felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his face neutral. I became Lord through the Morazan. The same ancient law your people follow. The Morazan was meant for Varadi, not for weak aliens. Vorith stepped closer. He was almost 2 feet taller than Kyle. I do not recognize your claim. The Valderan lands should belong to a true leader. A Varadi leader. Ziritha moved to stand beside Kyle. You cannot ignore the Morazan, Vorith. It is sacred law. Then I invoke the right of dominance, Vorith said with a grin. Single combat between the Thorvan champion and the Valderan lord. If your human wins, we will recognize his claim. If he loses, the Valderan lands become ours. A murmur went through the crowd of watching Varadi. Kyle saw fear on their faces. He did not fully understand what was happening, but he knew it was bad. You cannot refuse, Ziritha whispered to him. If you refuse the right, we forfeit our lands immediately. Our people will have nowhere to go. Kyle looked at Vorith's massive form. He looked at the warriors behind him, all of them huge and powerful. Then he looked at the Valderan people who were now depending on him. Who is your champion? Kyle asked. Varus' grin grew wider. His name is Corax. He has never lost a fight. He has killed 17 opponents in ritual combat. When does this fight happen? In 3 days. At the Arena of Ancestors on neutral ground. Vorith turned to leave. Prepare your human for death, Ziritha. The Valdarun lands will soon be ours. After the Thorvund left, Kyle sat down heavily on a wooden bench. His hands were shaking slightly. He had agreed to fight a giant alien warrior who had killed 17 opponents. Ziritha sat beside him. I am sorry, Kyle. I should have warned you this might happen. Would it have changed anything? No. You had no choice but to accept. Kyle nodded slowly. Then we have 3 days. Can you teach me how to fight like a Varati? Ziritha looked at him with surprise. You still want to try? Corax is the strongest warrior the Thorvund have ever produced. I pulled you from Quicksand because giving up was not an option, Kyle said. I am not going to start giving up now. Ziritha stared at him for a long moment. Then she stood and offered him her hand. Come, she said. We have much work to do in little time. Kyle took her hand and stood. He did not know if he could win this fight, but he knew he was going to try with everything he had. That was the human way. The Arena of Ancestors was a wide circle of packed earth surrounded by stone walls. Thousands of Varati from all 12 clans had gathered to watch the fight. Word had spread across the planet that a human would face Corax in ritual combat. Some came to see the human die. Others came because they were curious. A few came because they had heard strange rumors about humans and wanted to see if those rumors were true. Kyle stood at the edge of the arena and looked at his opponent. Corax was nearly 8 feet tall with muscles that seemed carved from stone. His silver blue skin was covered in scars from previous battles. His eyes held no mercy and no doubt. Kyle was 6 feet tall and weighed about 180 pounds. He had some muscle from years of fieldwork, but compared to Corax, he looked like a child. Ziritha had trained him for 3 days without rest. She taught him Varati fighting stances and attack patterns. She showed him where to strike for maximum damage. But she also told him the truth. You cannot beat Corax in a fair fight, she had said. He is faster, stronger, and more experienced. Your only chance is to survive long enough to find a weakness. And if he has no weakness? Ziritha had not answered that question. Now Kyle walked into the arena as the crowd roared around him. The Valdarun section cheered for him, but their voices were drowned out by the mocking laughter from other clans. Look at the tiny human, someone shouted. Corax will crush him in seconds, another voice called. Kyle ignored them. He had learned long ago to block out distractions. When you worked in dangerous environments, focus kept you alive. Corax entered from the opposite side. He raised his arms and the crowd went wild. This was their hero. This was their champion. This was the Varati who would prove that humans were nothing special. An elder stepped into the center of the arena. The rules are simple. Fight until one warrior cannot continue. Weapons are forbidden. There is no time limit. Let the ancestors watch and judge. The elder left the arena. Kyle and Corax faced each other. I will try to make your death quick, Corax said. I respect courage, even foolish courage. Kyle did not respond. He was focused on watching Corax's body, looking for any sign of movement. Corax attacked. It happened so fast that Kyle barely saw it coming. A massive fist flew toward his head. He ducked and felt the wind of the punch pass over him. Before he could recover, Corax kicked him in the chest. Kyle flew backward and hit the ground hard. The air rushed out of his lungs. Pain exploded through his ribs. The crowd cheered. Some of them began counting, thinking the fight was already over. But Kyle got up. He stood slowly, holding his ribs with one hand. His breath came in short gasps. But he was standing. Korax looked surprised. "You should stay down, human. The next blow will be worse." Kyle raised his fists. "Then throw it." Korax charged again. This time, Kyle was ready. He could not block the attacks, but he could move. He dodged left, then right, then ducked under a sweeping arm. Each movement bought him a few seconds, but Korax was relentless. A punch caught Kyle in the shoulder and spun him around. A knee slammed into his back and sent him crashing to the ground again. Kyle tasted blood in his mouth. His vision was blurry. Everything hurt. He got up again. The crowd fell silent. They had expected the human to quit after the first knockdown. No one got up after Korax hit them. No one. But Kyle was standing for the third time. "Why do you keep rising?" Korax demanded. "You cannot win. Just accept defeat and save yourself more pain." Kyle spit blood onto the ground. "I do not know how to give up. No one ever taught me." He attacked this time. Not with variety techniques, but with the dirty fighting he had learned in mining colony bars. He went low, grabbing Korax's leg and pulling. The giant stumbled. Kyle climbed up Korax's body like it was a rock wall. He wrapped his arm around the variety's neck and squeezed. It was a chokehold, something Korax had never seen before. Korax thrashed wildly. He reached back and grabbed Kyle, throwing him to the ground. Kyle felt something crack in his arm. The pain was incredible, but he had seen something. When he grabbed Korax's neck, the giant had panicked. The variety did not know how to fight against choking techniques. Kyle got up again. His left arm hung uselessly at his side. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. He could barely see through the swelling around his eyes, but he was smiling. "Come on," he said to Korax. "Is that all you have?" Korax roared in frustration. This was supposed to be easy. This was supposed to be a quick victory. Instead, this tiny human kept getting up like some kind of demon. Korax charged one more time, but now he was angry and careless. Kyle waited until the last second, then dropped to the ground and rolled behind Korax. Before the giant could turn, Kyle jumped onto his back again. This time, Kyle wrapped both legs around Korax's waist and both arms around his neck. He squeezed with everything he had left. His broken arms screamed in agony, but he did not let go. Korax tried to pull him off. He could not reach. He tried to slam backward into the arena wall. Kyle held on. He tried to fall forward and crush Kyle beneath him. Kyle adjusted his position and kept squeezing slowly. Korax's struggles grew weaker. His face turned a dark shade of blue. His hands stopped clawing at Kyle's arms. Then the mighty champion of the Thorvin fell to his knees. And then he fell forward onto his face. Kyle released his hold and rolled away. He lay on his back, staring up at the sky, unable to move. Everything hurt. He was not sure if he was dying or just wishing he would die. The elder rushed into the arena and checked Korax. He is alive but unconscious. The human has won. For a moment there was complete silence. Then the Valderan section erupted in cheers. They screamed Kyle's name over and over. The other clans stared in disbelief. They had just watched their greatest champion defeated by a creature half his size. A creature that refused to fall down. A creature that used techniques no variety had ever seen. Zirtha ran into the arena and knelt beside Kyle. "You did it. You actually did it." Kyle tried to laugh, but it hurt too much. "Tell me I do not have to do that again." "Never again," Zirtha promised. "After today, no one will challenge you." She helped him stand. The crowd watched as the small, broken human limped out of the arena with his head held high. And across the planet, beings of all clans began to whisper a new truth. Humans were not weak. Humans were something far more dangerous. They were impossible to stop. 3 months had passed since Kyle's victory in the arena. His broken arm had healed, and most of his bruises had faded. Only a small scar above his eye remained as a reminder of his fight with Korax. The Valdoran settlement had changed during those 3 months. Kyle had introduced new ideas from human colonies. He showed the Verati how to build water collection systems that gathered rain from above instead of drawing from the dangerous swamps below. He taught them how to grow food in hanging gardens that used less space and produced more crops. At first, some Verati resisted the changes. They said these were human methods, not proper for their people. But when they saw the results, their complaints stopped. The Valdoran were eating better than they had in generations. Word spread to other clans. The human lord was not just a warrior who refused to fall. He was also making his people stronger and healthier. Some clans sent messengers to learn about his methods. Others watched from a distance, still suspicious but curious. Kyle walked through the settlement one morning and smiled at what he saw. Children played on the platforms, their laughter echoing through the trees. Workers carried food from the new gardens. A group of young warriors practiced fighting techniques that Kyle had taught them. This was his home now. He had not planned it. He had not asked for it. But it was his. Ziritha found him standing at the edge of a platform, looking out at the jungle below. She stood beside him in comfortable silence. "You are thinking again," she said. "I am always thinking." "About what?" Kyle shrugged. "About how strange life can be. A few months ago, I was just a geologist studying rocks. Now I am the lord of an alien clan on a planet far from Earth. Do you regret it?" Kyle thought about the question carefully. "No, I miss some things about my old life. I miss my friends on the survey team. I miss cold beer and bad music. But I do not regret saving you from the quicksand. And I do not regret staying." Ziritha touched his arm gently. "That is good, because I have something to tell you. My mother passed away last night." Kyle turned to face her. He saw the sadness in her golden eyes, but also a strange peace. "I am sorry, Ziritha. I know how much she meant to you. She lived long enough to see the clan in safe hands. She told me to thank you before she went to sleep for the final time. She said you were exactly what our people needed, even if they did not know it yet." Kyle did not know what to say. He had only spoken with Sarovith a few times, but her wisdom had impressed him deeply. "There will be a ceremony tonight," Ziritha continued. "All the clan will gather to honor her memory. And there is something else. Something we need to discuss." They walked together to a quiet corner of the settlement. Ziritha explained that the Morazan had rules Kyle did not know about. "The bond lasts for one full cycle of seasons," she said. "After that, both parties can choose to release it. Neither of us would die. We would simply be free of the connection." Kyle felt his heart beat faster. "Are you saying I can leave?" "Yes. If you want to return to your human colony, you can do so without killing us both. The choice is yours." Kyle looked at Ziritha. She was trying to hide her feelings, but he could see the tension in her shoulders. She was afraid he would leave. She was afraid the clan would lose its lord, just when things were getting better. "What do you want me to do?" Kyle asked. "I cannot tell you that. This must be your decision." Kyle was silent for a long moment. He thought about Earth. He thought about the other human colonies. He thought about the life he had known before Ver-Rath-4. Then he thought about the Valdoran. He thought about the children learning to read. He thought about the warriors who now respected him. He thought about the elders who came to him for advice. He thought about Ziritha, who had become his closest friend and most trusted advisor. "I am not going anywhere," Kyle said quietly. Ziritha's eyes widened. "You are sure? I pulled you from the quicksand because walking away was not who I am. and walking away now would not be who I want to be. These people need a leader. I do not know if I am the best choice, but I am the choice they have, and I will not abandon them." Zirtha smiled. It was the first real smile Kyle had seen from her. It changed her whole face, making her look younger and happier. "Thank you, Kyle Bennett. You truly are a worthy lord." That night, the clan gathered to honor Sarovath. They sang songs in the old language and told stories of her wisdom and courage. Kyle stood with them, no longer an outsider, but a member of their family. After the ceremony, visitors began arriving from other clans. They had heard about the new human lord. They had heard about his victory over Korax. They had heard about the improvements he had made to Valderan life. Now they wanted to meet him for themselves. Leaders from 5 different clans came to Kyle with problems. Some had disputes with neighbors. Some had shortages of food or water. Some wanted to learn the human techniques Kyle had taught the Valderan. Kyle listened to each of them. He did not pretend to have all the answers, but he asked good questions and offered practical suggestions. By the end of the night, 3 clans had asked if he would help mediate their conflicts. Zirtha watched him work with something like pride in her eyes. When the last visitor had left, she walked to his side. "You know what this means," she said. "They are beginning to look to you for leadership beyond the Valderan. Your influence is growing." Kyle sighed. "I did not ask for that either." "You never ask. That is why they trust you. Most beings who seek power cannot be trusted with it. But you never wanted power at all. You just wanted to help." Kyle looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the planet where his species had evolved. A planet so harsh and dangerous that it had created beings who simply refused to give up, no matter the odds. "The galaxy is going to learn about humans," he said. "Not through war or conquest, but through people like me doing small things that lead to bigger things. Is that what you planned?" Kyle laughed softly. "I'd planned to study rocks and retire to a quiet life. The universe had other ideas." Zirtha stood beside him as the moons rose over the jungle. They did not need to speak. The bond between them was deeper than words. In the years that followed, Kyle Bennett would become a legend among the Varadi. Not because he was the strongest or the fastest, but because he cared. He helped any being who asked, regardless of their clan or species. He built bridges where there had been walls. He brought peace where there had been conflict. And it all started because he could not watch someone drown in quicksand without trying to help. That was the human way. And sometimes, the human way changed everything.